shoot, 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 shoot.
Hey guys, welcome. It's your boy Ren City coming at you with the NFL, all that good NFL stuff. We did the recap of Week 11, Week 12. Didn't have everything working on my end here. Have you ever been looking at your storage and see it run out? Well, it ran out and I wasn't looking at it. It snuck up very methodically, not very sudden, but when it hit, so I kind of look like a mook not checking his gas gauge when he goes on a road trip. So won't be able to pick Thursday's game, but we'll break down that snow globe game in the Week 12 recap. But let's do the picks first. And you won't hear any predictions from the Atlanta Falcons, Buffalo Bills, Cincinnati Bengals, Jacksonville Jaguars, New Orleans Saints, or New York Jets. Only a few bye weeks left in the season, so yeah, 6 of them on this one. And other than the Bills and Saints, I mean, a lot of those teams are probably pumped to have a bye week, so we'll see what happens there. I was 10-4 in my Week 11 predictions, so we'll see what we can do to hopefully make me look like Nostradamus City here. But like I said, it's all about the Week 12 picks episode. We did the recap, so let's concentrate on small plastic pieces in a guitar shop, and let's get to the picks. AFC showdown in the AFC South, featuring 2 teams going in opposite directions. You have a bout between the top of the division and the bottom. The 2-8 Tennessee Titans head to Texas to take on the division-leading 7-4 Houston Texans. The Titans lost that tough one to the Vikings. They're second in a row, but they were right into the game until that personal foul in the end zone went against them, taking with a turnover, giving up a touchdown the next play. Not very good, and it was a tough loss for them, but they're still rocking the Levi's with Will Levis, and he's going to need to play great to knock off the Texans here. They've looked a little lackluster despite that easy win in Dallas, but it's going to be some extra pressure on C.J. Stroud and company to perform well against their division rivals. I think C.J.'s going to have a better game than he's been playing as of late, and running back Joe Mixon, man, he's been lights out for the Texans, and he could be the offensive signing of the season, really. But like I say with all divisional games, this one could be close, but I see the Texans securing the home win, beating the franchise that was once in Houston before locating to Tennessee. Houston can't take this team lightly, though. The Titans, they'll fight for their head coach, Brian Callahan, and Will Levis showed with that arm. He can put a touchdown on you from anywhere on the field, like he did with that 98-yard last week. But as I said, I got Houston winning this one. Sticking with divisional bouts, we head to the NFC North, where the 8-2 Minnesota Vikings, they beat the Titans last week, as I said, extend their winning streak to 3 games. And similar to what I said about the Texans, the Vikings have been winning games despite not looking their very best. But whatever gets the win, gets the win. I'm expecting to get Aaron Jones maybe a little more involved, but they're playing against, like I said, division rivals, the 4-6 Chicago Bears, and it's not going to be easy to get a running game going against them. The Bears had that crushing walk-off field goal, the blocked walk-off field goal for the Packers. And I'm thinking, just like Denver responded to their walk-off block field goal to the Chiefs, that's why I say walk-off. It's a little shorter, and it sounds like a bird, which is kind of interesting. But the Broncos dominated in the week after. And I know Minnesota should be the favorite in this matchup, like deservedly so, but Chicago was right there. They had Green Bay on the ropes last week, setting up a game-winning kick. And I think they're going to do enough to beat the Vikings. The team's looking much more comfortable under newly promoted offensive coordinator Thomas Brown. I think what Chicago is cooking is just the recipe to give Minnesota their 3rd loss of the season. I'm expecting a big game out of Caleb Williams. I thought DeAndre Swift would do some damage, but battling that groin injury, I don't know how much we're going to see of him, if any. I'm expecting Roschon Johnson to get a lot more touches, and he's been a great short yardage back. Let's see what he can do more as an every down back. And missing Swift is going to be big, though. But I still think the Chicago's got a chance here. Because prior to that Titans game, Sam Darnold threw 5 picks in 2 games. Didn't throw 1 against the Titans, but I see the Bears getting at least 1 off of them, maybe 2. I mean, as a Packers fan, I'd like both teams to lose. But being that they can't, I have Chicago winning at Soldier Field, beating the Vikings. Yes, you heard it here. Sticking with the theme of the week, another division game. This one in the NFC East. The struggling Dallas Cowboys at 3-7 go on the road to take on the 7-4 Washington Commanders. Cowboys roll into the American capital with Cooper Rush still lining up behind center. He's been the guy since Dak Prescott suffered a season-ending hamstring injury. But if Rush struggles against this Commanders defense, I have to ask again, when are we going to see Trey Lance? Like, what are we waiting for? I think we may get to see him because I think Washington, they're going to look to end that first 2-game losing streak of the season. Unfamiliar territory for the number 2 overall pick, Jaden Daniels. I see him having a better game against the Dallas defense that will look good up top. But, when they face adversity, I don't want to keep beating this cowboy horse here, but once they face adversity, it goes down real quick. So we'll see what happens, but I see Washington getting back on the winning track. Head coach Dan Quinn getting a win over the team that probably should have made him the head coach. Instead, they let their DC, go to DC, and he's leading the Commanders to a very successful season. And Washington winning big at home. Rolling with these divisional bouts, the next prediction comes from the AFC East. 3-8 New England Patriots fought hard last week, only to come up a little short against Matthew Stafford and the Rams. They head south to take on the 4-6 Miami Dolphins, where the Dolphins have won 2 in a row, and they've got some of the guys healthy. They're looking like a team that we kind of expected the Dolphins to look like, back-to-back games with a receiving touchdown for Tyreek Hill. He's getting things back in order. Devon Achane looks healthy. This team is just much better. Johnny Smith, he's looked to regain form of years past. He's a threat all over the field right now, and despite a tough divisional game, I think the Dolphins should extend their winning streak to 3 games, but like I've said about every divisional game, it should be tough. And at the end of the game, we're going to be like, you know what? That Drake May, he's fucking pretty good. He's going to be a good quarterback going forward. But we're not looking too far ahead. We're just looking at today. And today, I see the Dolphins beating the Patriots. Our first game that isn't a divisional game. In fact, it's an interconference matchup featuring 2 teams on the opposite sides of the NFL spectrum right now. The 9-1 Kansas City Chiefs, coming off their first loss since last Christmas, so they're going to be pissed off going into Charlotte to take on the 3-7 Carolina Panthers. Panthers coming off a bye week, riding a very rare 2-game winning streak, the first ever of quarterback Bryce Young's career. Initially, looking at this matchup on the schedule at the beginning of the year, you wouldn't think the Chiefs would be coming in losers and the Panthers would be coming on a winning streak, but that's the NFL, baby. That's how she goes sometimes. Despite the Panthers tasting some winning lately, I see them opening a big old can of losing this weekend. I see an angry Chiefs sticking it to the Panthers, getting back into the winning column after their lone loss of the season. Chiefs are getting close to getting some guys back. Running back Isaiah Pacheco still shouldn't be ready to go in this one after that fractured fibula early in the season. Defensive end Charles Omenihu, he's getting close to returning from that torn ACL he suffered in the AFC Championship game last year. Both shouldn't be ready for this game, but they're getting closer. But what KC does have on the field are some pretty good guys, and they're going to get back in the winning column, getting a win in Carolina. An intriguing NFC matchup with one team that still has playoff dreams and one team that is switching things up at the quarterback position. The 4-6 Tampa Bay Buccaneers are coming off a bye week. They needed that bye, losing 4 in a row before that week off. The Bucs head north to take on the New York Giants, and the 2-8 Giants have made a move at the quarterback position. Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones, benched. Not just benched, the high-paid quarterback was moved to third string, and then after discussions and a mutual decision of some kind, I don't know how that works, but they decided it's better if you just go. So Daniel Jones released, and this is after signing a 4-year, $160 million contract just back in March of 2023. But Jones is no longer a Giant. Before he was released, there was word he was playing safety at practice, just helping out. This is a very bizarre situation for Jones, and I'm interested to see where he goes after clearing waivers. Like, I imagine he can help people out. When they talk to Saquon Barkley about it, he's like, look, I changed scenery, and I'm doing pretty all right. So, very bizarre situation, and with a very bizarre team. How bizarre are we going? We're going with Tommy Cutlets. Yes, Tommy DeVito, his sharp dressing agent. They're going to be the front and center again. We'll see if that can create any spark for this Giants team that's lacked spark all year. A lot of people are surprised how the Giants kept Drew Lock at QB2. Many thought since he was backing up Danny Dimes a lot of time, he'd be the guy up. But, they leapfrogged him with Tommy Cutlets. If anything, he's going to sell some tickets. But I see Tampa Bay coming in here, getting back in the win column against the Giants. Mike Evans, all-pro wide receiver. He's returning to the lineup. Future Hall of Famer. He's missed the last 3 games. He'll be a welcome back to this offense with open arms. And he's got to try to get this record going. He's got his 10 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons to start your career. That streak's going. He's only at 335 yards right now with 7 games remaining. So look for Baker Mayfield to look for his number 1 guy coming back here against the Giants. I'm expecting Tampa Bay to get back in the win column while the Giants continue to giant. Going back to another interconference matchup, we have the most dangerous team in the NFL right now, the NFC leading Detroit Lions and their 9-1 record, going on the road to take on the 5-6 Indianapolis Colts. The Lions they're rolling. Winners of 8 in a row. They just dropped another 50-burger last week at Jacksonville, the second one they've done of the year. And on this 8-game winning streak, they're outscoring opponents 294 to 137. That is absolutely ridiculous. Dan Campbell wasn't lying about biting your kneecaps on the way up back when he was hired back in 2021. This team has become full Dan Campbell and everything he represents. It's hard not to like this team, but the Lions, they're going to be in for a fight. The Colts defense, they're going to have trouble stopping the Lions offense. I mean, fucking everyone has, but the Colts defense, they've given up big yards, but if they can limit to Detroit to some jackbait field goal attempts, or we know the aggressiveness of Campbell, if they can stop him on 4th down, this could potentially steal one here. As good as Detroit has played on both ends of the ball, they have not faced off with a physical running quarterback like Anthony Richardson. The Lions, they went up against a speedy Kyler Murray, and they only won that game by a touchdown. So I think the Colts, having Richardson back in the lineup, he's a game changer, obviously, and he sometimes changes it for the bad, but I think he's going to do more good. And we're going to see one of the most shocking upsets of the season. The Detroit Lions are going to go into Indy, and they're going to lose to the Colts. You heard it here first. Richardson, he's not going to do it alone. I'm expecting a bounce-back game from Jonathan Taylor. He's going over 100 yards. And the Indianapolis Colts are going to beat the Detroit Lions. Check it. We're going to go back to divisional bouts here. Going to the AFC West, the rivalry between 2 teams that really do not like each other. The 6-5 Denver Broncos going to Vegas to take on the 2-8 Raiders. The Broncos made up for that tough walk-off loss to the Chiefs by hosting the Falcons and taking them down. Defense looked great. Number 12 overall pick, Bo Nix. He's looking like a legitimate offensive rookie of the year choice. I think the Broncos' running game is going to get going, making things even easier for the rookie QB. Raiders' newly promoted offensive coordinator, Scott Turner, he called a pretty good game last week, and he's going back in to call plays for a second straight week. Offense showed a little more promise, but they still have a ways to go. But like most divisional games, this one's going to be close. But I see Denver going into Las Vegas and leaving with a win. Much like Mercedes, George Russell for F1 fans there, but keeping the Broncos' playoff hopes very much alive with a win here. For Vegas, it's going to be another tough loss and a tough season. All eyes on the draft for the Raiders. Last divisional bout of the weekend may well be the best game of the weekend. We go to the NFC West. Division leaders 6-4 Arizona Cardinals. They're heading to the Northwest to take on the Seattle Seahawks in an all-bird matchup. Cardinals are coming off a bye week and looking to take their 4-game winning streak into a tough place to play. Lumen Field is loud in Seattle. However, his throne hasn't been so tough to win at this year. They're just 2-4 at home this year, losing 4 in a row, something Seattle fans are not used to seeing. The Seahawks are coming in off that dramatic comeback victory over the 49ers, a win for the Seahawks would equal them with Arizona and create even more chaos in this batshit division. But I think the Cardinals are going to come in fresh off their bye, start the game, lots of James Conner, opening things up for Kyler Murray. And then the Cards are going to be like, we don't have just Conner. Bring in Trey Benson. Bring in Amari DeMarcado. They'll literally run it up on the Seahawks here, putting up another L in that stadium. I don't know how many L's are in Lumen Field, but they're adding a few more here. As Arizona takes a little bit more of a stranglehold in that crazy NFC West. But as I said, broken record here. Divisional games, they're tough. They're close. Arizona's going to win. Another potential for game of the weekend, an NFC matchup of 2 old foes, the 5-5 San Francisco 49ers, who I just mentioned losing late to Seattle last week. They're going to Lambeau Field taking on my 3-7 or my 7-3. Oh my 7-3 Green Bay Packers, a rematch of last year's divisional playoffs. The Packers visited San Francisco and fell 24-21. This is a new year. Things are looking a lot different. First of all, the 49ers are still pretty beat up. An injury report that's got some studs on it. One of the newest, quarterback Brock Purdy, his shoulder soreness will keep him out of this big boat. We're going to see journeyman Brandon Allen in his 9th NFL season. He's getting the start. He hasn't started a game since 2021 when he was a member of the Cincinnati Bengals. While on the defensive side, former NFL Defensive Player of the Year Nick Bosa is going to miss the game with that hip oblique injury we saw near the end of the game in Seattle, and we saw how different the defense played with him out of the game. So we'll see how healthy the rest of the team is going into Wisconsin. And with all these new pieces coming together, the Packers are kind of in the driver's seat here. They cannot overlook this, though. I see them moving the ball well. I see them getting in great positions. But these are where the questions are going to pop up. Can Jordan Love go a full game without throwing an interception, especially in the red zone? And can the Packers end the drives with touchdowns? It's awesome. Brandon McManus is on the team. He's a good kicker, but we don't need to see him all the fucking time. So let's get some touchdowns out there. And yeah, if Jordan Love makes smart decisions and they get touchdowns instead of field goals, it's going to be an easy cruise to a victory here for the Packers. But those are ifs, and if those ifs are questioned and if they're answered incorrectly, then Love will add more interceptions. He's thrown a pick in 8 consecutive games. That's why he shares the interception lead with Seattle's Geno Smith and Kansas City's Patrick Mahomes. And the 49ers are going to give the Packers fits. They always do. But this time around, Green Bay's going to come out the victors, keeping pace in that tough NFC North, making ground on the Lions, while last year's Super Bowl runner-ups will be in serious jeopardy of missing the postseason. Don't want to beat the saying into the ground, but another potential game of the weekend goes down Sunday night with the 8-2 NFC East leading Philadelphia Eagles heading west to face off with the 5-5 Los Angeles Rams. The visiting Eagles are on a 6-game winning streak, looking to make it 7 in La La Land. The offense is getting healthier, and they could be poised to put up some points on this Rams defense, which is full of rookies. But that usually is a negative thing. But as mentioned in my recap episode, the rookies, they're studs on this defense. Matthew Stafford lit it up last week in the win over the Patriots. I see him getting some pressured, a lot of pressure in his face, but he's going to buy enough time to find Puka Nacua. He's going to find Cooper Kupp throughout the game. It's going to be a game with points, and Stafford's going to make a play late to clinch the win for the Rams. I see both kickers who have struggled a bit lately missing one in this one. Jake Elliott's going to miss. Rookie kicker Joshua Carty's probably going to miss. But look for multiple passing touchdown game for Stafford as the Rams move above 500 in that wacky NFC West. How's Week 12 going to wrap up? Well, it does the same way it always does with Monday night, with two teams facing off with 7 wins apiece. And it's not just any game. You have the 3rd edition of the Harbaugh Bowl. John Harbaugh takes a 7-4 Baltimore Ravens team to the West Coast, where they'll face off with Jim Harbaugh and his 7-3 Los Angeles Chargers. Two brothers have faced off twice in the NFL. Back when Jim was coaching the 49ers, they met in a regular season in 2011. Baltimore took that one. Then they met in a slightly larger game, just the Super Bowl 47. In that game, John and his Ravens took the Super Bowl victory. The game famously had that power outage where it was delayed for a bit, but nevermore, we thought after Jim Harbaugh took his talents to Michigan, we didn't know if we'd see this again, but after winning a national championship, Jim's return to the NFL this season, and his Chargers, they've looked pretty good. They escaped the second half collapse last week to beat Cincinnati to win their 4th straight, while the Ravens, they were coming off that crushing defeat, NFC North battle with Pittsburgh. So both of these teams second place in their respective division, chasing teams that are just a little ahead of them, and with the outcome of Thursday's game, this opened the door a bit for the Ravens, and with Kansas City, losing their first game of the season last week, that's opened some doors for the Los Angeles Chargers. I almost said San Diego, but stopped myself there. So you have two very talented and two even more motivated squads. It should be a dandy. I don't think the Chargers will be able to stop the running of the Ravens. I'm looking for that offense to put up tons of rushing yards on this Chargers defense. LA, they're going to put up some pretty big offensive plays with a guy who's a little familiar with the Ravens. Their offensive coordinator, Greg Roman, he's had a few stints in Baltimore, an O-line assistant back in 2006, then returning years later as a senior offensive assistant and tight ends coach, ultimately working his way up to offensive coordinator, a position he's held a few seasons. So he knows Lamar Jackson. He knows the Baltimore mentality, I guess. So this could be very interesting. You have a lot of familiarity here, but I mentioned LA is not going to be able to stop Baltimore running the ball. And I think LA is going to get big chunk touchdowns, but it's going to be when the field collapses on them once they get in those red zone areas. And I think they might struggle in the kicking game here. We'll see, but they'll be forced to take a lot of kicks, I imagine. And I don't think the field goals are going to be able to keep up with Baltimore on their touchdowns. Either Lamar cutting it outside for a running score or Derrick Henry just running through everybody else to score. But as I said, Baltimore picking up the win and John Harbaugh owning this series in the Harbaugh Bowl. But that's it. That's the week NFL 12 predictions. Just in time for the games. It's Sunday. There's a blizzard here. I left the window open a bit just so you can see. Well, you can't see. It's so white. Snow shit everywhere. This is my EDO, and I've never been happier that I have my EDO land on a day like today. But we'll see how I hold up in my picks. As mentioned at the top of the show, I went 10-4 last week, good buddy. So I'll see if I can improve on that record. Enjoy the games today. Stay home, stay bundled up, do what you got to do. There's some good games. Let's hope they live up to our very high expectations. But thanks for listening. Ren City out.